Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast, where we are back previewing another week of domestic action, or weekend, I should say, focusing on the ITV races this weekend on Saturday afternoon. 7 races, 2 jumps cards, really good Kempton card. Really the last sort of big chance, I think, for horses pre-Cheltenham to strut their stuff. We've also got the Eider Chase, and we've got some flat action as well, which I'm trying to get my head around, but we are on the flat with the Winter Derby and another race from Lingfield as well. Delighted to welcome back Sam Turner. Great to see you back on the pod, Sam. Adele Mulrennan is with us as ever, and Micheál, Deasy, not wanting to stand out from the crowd, is back for another week as well. You can't miss him this week. If I can, first of all, just blow some smoke up our respective behinds. We had a really good week on the pod last week. Secret Investor was put up by Declan Ricks at 15.0. So too So Royale 4.0. Jonesy's Edwardstone was placed at 15.0. We had Goshen at 4.33. My word, he's back. Dashwood Drasher at 5.0. Third Wind at 5.5. So that was a good week, and we're hoping for more of the same this week. No pressure, Sam. Straight back in. You know, no, not wanting to lump any pressure on you.
No, absolutely not. I've just seen there's been an absolute litany of big price winners from you guys in the last 6 or 8 weeks or whatever. I've just scrolled down the Twitter feed, just shaking my head thinking, how am I going to cope with this when I get back on, if I ever do? But thankfully, the Wi-Fi's been upgraded here, so Sully's given me a contract for another couple of these shows, so that's all good news.
It's all about the Wi-Fi. Exactly. Right, DC, the offer. You got this word for word now. You got this down. So the Matchbook offer for new customers. Take it away, sir.
Okay, so our new sign-up offer is a bet 10, get 10 offer. Sign up today, place your first bet of £10 or more at odds of 2.0 or more, and we will give you a tenner when that bet settles. Brilliant.
That's superb and beautifully read, may I add, as well. 18 plus, be gamble aware. Right, let's get stuck into the previews. We've got 7 races. We've got 4 from Kempton, and that is where we start at Kempton with a race I love. It is the 150, and it is the Close Brothers Pendil Novices Chase, this 150. Just to give you some prices, you got Tamarack du Mathan, who is currently 2.25. Galore, who is a 3.3 shots. Cool Cody is 6.0, and Son of Camas is 15.0. We've got levels of agreement between the team here. So in one corner, we've got Adele and Sam. So Sam, straight back in. Take it away, sir.
Yeah, intriguing race, really. Just looking down the roll call of it with the Nichols horses that have won it in the past. They include, obviously, Surname, Frodon, Irish Saint, perhaps not. I could have left the third name off the list, really, and a couple of others. But, you know, only 4 runners, unfortunately, but tactics sure to prove quite an important factor to this race. And a couple of horses that like to get on with it. Cool Cody should suit him because he can jump right occasionally. So getting back on a right-handed track should be ideal. And you're calling it, is it Gore Law or is it not GA Law? I thought Deasy would definitely be calling it GA Law. But another horse that likes to get on with it as well. Hopefully that will set it up for the good ground, flat track, right-handed Merchant, which is Tamarack du Mathan, who was really, really impressive at Wincanton a couple of starts ago. Has been kept fresh for much of the season, I think. Ran on soft ground over Christmas as well in that graded chase at Kempton behind Shishkin. Couldn't lay a glove on Shishkin, but no great surprise there. But didn't, wasn't disgraced. Emerged with a little bit of credit there. Good clear round. Good knowledge of the track. This is a race that the yard obviously target pretty strongly. He's fresher than most as well. He's missed all those sort of head-banging runs that 1 or 2 of these have been going through on the winter ground. Back on better ground, back at Kempton, 5-4 or 2.2, something around those odds. No great bet of the century, but he does look the most likely winner to me.
What interested me particularly about the race, Sam, was Nichols originally had Hitman in there, and I wondered if he was going to go, and I was sort of crabbing him at the distance. But then I wonder if it's a similar question I can apply to this horse. Are you happy enough with this horse stepping back up in trip?
Yeah, I am. I think he stays fairly well. I wonder whether Hitman was in there to scare 1 or 2 off, perhaps, and they were just having a little bit of a look at the race. I don't mind him stretching out in trip, to be honest. I think he's a bit older now. They've got a good gallop here, so he'll settle okay, and I think he'll run a big race. He's not the bet of the day for me by any stretch of the imagination, but I would imagine that, given his record fresh and the fact that he gets back on good ground at Kempton, should be ideal.
Adele, I know you're singing from the same hymn sheet, so go on. Anything to add to that with Tamarack du Mathan?
Well, I am really much singing off the same heat as I'm singing off the same hymn sheet as Sam, because I do like Galore. Just with the only having 4 runners, I think it will be quite tactical. Obviously, he likes to go from the front, and they've been riding Cool Cody quite aggressively as well. So whether them two might get racing up front and Tamarok do Mathon, I think we'll just kind of sit on the heels of them. As far as his stamina is concerned, he's bred to get further, so I don't think that's a problem at all. So yeah, just the same things really. Sam's already said. You know, Nichols has got a fantastic record in the race. He's won it 6 times, and I think tactically wise, I think I'd be sticking with him over the 2 that I think are going to be up the front and might just set it alight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Galore, GA Law. Dees, what are we saying here for you?
I like his last run. He dropped down on trip against All Mankind at Sandown. He went down to 2 miles in soft ground, and I don't think that suited him. I think that 2.5 miles on good ground is his speciality. He's a very good jumper. I think he's the best jumper out of the 4 horses in this race. I think he's quite slick over his obstacles, and I can see him just getting out in front, getting the rhythm, and I think he'll take a few lengths out of them with his jumping. And again, I think he should see out 2.5 miles over Kempton and flat track fairly well. So I'd fancy him strongly for this.
Yeah, I think up in trip he's the one to be with. I mean, I could argue that there's not. I can't look at the market and say he's the wrong price necessarily, but I want to have him on side back up in trip. I think the ground is going to suit. We're likely to have good ground. Who'd have thought it? We've been waiting for that, haven't we? And yeah, I think this trip is what he will. I think he will lead. I think he'll lead Cool Cody as well. So I think he'll get his own way out in front. And I think he's the one to be with. Anything to add to the Pendil? We've got a couple of shouts for Tamarok Jamath and a couple for Galore. Anything to add, people? We are happy. Good. Let's kick on. Next contest we're going to be looking at is the Hever Sprint, Lingfield 205. Trying to get my head back into the sprinting game on the flat, and I couldn't personally. I'm sitting this race out. I couldn't find any angle at the prices. Go on, Adele. You kick us off. Which speeds did you like?
Well, Micheál has been very much a favourite in Yorkshire, and he won at Ripon, he won at York, he won at Doncaster. He's also won at Wolverhampton as well, so we know he handles the all-weather. Obviously, Ed has now taken over from his dad, so he's got a fantastic horse to go to all with this summer, and I presume he'll be contesting, you know, some of the top Group 1 5 furlong sprints. So I think he's got the credentials that I would like to see for the race. He's got a good draw as well in 4. He's got plenty of speed. He's quite versatile, you know. He's won at Ripon, so he handles a bit of an undulated track. He obviously handles the bend with Wolverhampton, so I think he'll be absolutely fine at Lingfield. The other horse I would note though is Ornate. You know, he's been a fantastic servant for his connections, and he's drawn in stall too. So he could jump out and go flat out, and it'd be hard, you know, to peg him back. But Micheál, I think, is the classiest horse in the race. You know, he was 3rd in the Nunthorpe, which is one of the fastest run Group 1s, you know, in the country. So I think, given that form, I think you'd have to have him on side.
Micheál 2.2 could have given you at the start, who does head the betting. Rocket Action is 5.5. Blue de Vega is 7.0. Lord Ridderford 8.0. Good Old Ornate 15.0. And then Royal Birth and Belle Anglaise are 26.0, the pair of them. So 2 on side for you, Adele, Micheál and Ornate?
Yeah, Ornate would be, well, I suppose it'd be a bit of a place more than anything. You know, I presume he's double figures, and Micheál at the top of the betting. But I was looking, have a look through the draws, you know, from the previous winners, and 2 has been quite strong, and 5. So you obviously need a low draw, and you do need a horse that's got a good turn of foot, which Micheál has. So, you know, fingers crossed. It'd be nice to see him back to winning ways, and it'd be nice to see Ed have a big winner, you know, in his first couple of months training. I see him at Midland all the time when I'm riding out. He's so hands-on, and you know, fingers crossed. I think he'll have a really good year this year.
Yeah, for Micheál for Ed Bethel and PJ McDonald. I'm gutted that Nahar, the Air Gold Cup winner, wasn't declared for this, because I'd have loved to have taken him on, but he's not in there. So there you go. Sam, what about you?
Yeah, a bit like you. Obviously, looking at this market early part of the week with Nahar in there, Micheál in there, Rocket Action, I wasn't particularly keen on any of the trio, to be honest. Of the trio, Micheál would definitely have been my pick if they'd all lined up, just because he's handled the bend at Wolverhampton. He's capable of going, you know, pretty quick, as Adele pointed out, you know, 3-length 3rd in the Nunthorpe behind Potash. I mean, that's head and shoulders above what any of these could probably hope to achieve. My only slight concern with him is that there does look at loads of pace in this race. And I think if Ornate hadn't been declared for this, having run at Southall, I'd really fancy Lord Ridderford to make all out of stall 1. Obviously, he's got loads of speed from the gate. Very, very quick horse. This track should really play to his strengths. And I thought, 8.0, 9.0, something like that could be a good trading vehicle for Lord Ridderford. It wasn't a race that I particularly had a great feel for. If Moskill's on his game and if he switched on mentally and tuned up for this, then you could certainly see him, mowing them down the middle of the track late on and bringing his class to bear. But I'll take a small chance with Lord Ridderford. Just that nagging doubt that he's got Ornate just on the outside of him is just going to make him go half a stride quicker than he would like to. But hopefully the two of them can burn the rest of the field off, and Adele and I can have the 1-2.
Yeah, they're drawn 1 and 2, aren't they? I was going to ask you that, and then you answered it for me. Lord Ridderford 1, Ornate drawn 2. They're not going to hang about. And Sam's saying 8.0, possibly a trading angle there for Lord Ridderford. So just keep your tab open and see what sort of price he goes to if he's still up there inside the last furlong or so, and see if he's floundering. Deasy, what about you, sir?
Yeah, I look back at this race the last 2 years, and it was won both times in the same manner by a horse that sat out the back and swooped around the bend and just picked up the horses that were gone off in front. So that was kind of the way I looked at this race, and I like Lord Rutherford because he's come to this fit, but I think he's a front runner. I don't like front runners at Lingfield, so the one I actually went for was Rocket Action in the end. Not too happy with the draw out in start 7, but they booked Holly Doyle. I think Rocket Action will probably sit in behind the pace. She breaks fine. Has been running in decent races, and hopefully he will just be able to pick up the pieces towards the end. They've booked Holly Doyle as well as the first time she's ridden the horse, so that kind of stands out to me as well. But again with Moskill, it looks like the race could be set up for him because he's drawn in the middle, all the paces around him. He's a very high class horse compared to the rest of them. So. But he's a sharp price whether to take him on, so I went for Rocket Action.
Rocket Action for Dees, Lord Ridderford for Sam, possibly a trading angle there, and Moskill for Adele with a place bet on Ornate in that Hever sprint. And I'm just sitting it out because I get it wrong. Moving on to the next at Kempton. This looks like a good renewal potentially of the Adonis Juvenile hurdle. As it stands currently, you've got Tritonic as a warm order towards the top of the betting, 2.1. Honor d'Argent, Chester and Jane Williams, who was wayward last time, but probably going to win, and then having raced freely came down at 5.5. Casa Lupi, who was another front runner, at 7.5. And then we get stuck into the double figures with the Margaret's Legacy 13.0. Go on then, Adele. I think most of the team were keen on Tritonic last time, and he was, I thought, really, really impressive. For all he wanted every yard of it to get up and get home, and you're siding with him again. I
actually didn't go with him. I went with Salamanca's School. I was absolutely gutted.
Oh, that was last. You did last time, didn't you? Apologies.
In my place, wasn't I? I mean, he was fantastic. So yeah, I mean, of course, I've got him on side for Saturday. I'd be stupid not to. I mean, he looks superb. A little bit keen because obviously we're given his flat days. You can forgive him for that. But I thought he showed plenty of grit, loads of determination, and I thought it was a fantastic start for him. So I've got him on side this time. And then I know Sam's already mentioned.
Oops.
Oh, she's gone. Now, I think it's the build. Now I can give you some inside information on Adele. She's got there are builders in there, and they're back. Thankfully, she's back.
Are they stealing all your bandwidth? Adele, as my grandfather used to say.
I have actually moved the wire a little bit as well, so I was thinking, I wonder if the Wi-Fi is going to work today. They're going to have to do something with it.
Yeah, you're all right. Go on, go. So we heard most of it. Go on, pick up. Yeah, so Tritonic. Go on.
So Soldier on Parade will be my B bet, who was quite busy obviously through the summer and didn't run that long ago. I think it was 8 days ago. One on the flat. So I just think a little bit of a freshen-up would have done him the world of good. He looked a little bit flat at Wetherby, so he would be on side for just a place bet as well. But Tritonic, yeah, going to go with him.
Sam, you're thinking exactly the same, right? Is what I've got written down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You too. Honestly, you've got to disagree at some point.
We've got our heads together here today. I really like Tritonic. I thought he did well to win. thought Adrian Heskin overcooked the waiting tactics a bit at Ascot, and the horse got him out of jail a little bit, if I'm honest. He was nearly succumbed to a great front-running ride from Jamie Moore on Casalupi. And I think this track might suit Casalupi a little bit more than Tritonic. So I'm not sure I quite get the sort of evens and 6-1, the difference between the two of them. I think they should be a little bit closer together. Obviously, sandwiched between the two of them is Honor d'Anjouac, who, as you said, looked a bit of a headbanger last time, but has obviously got a lot of ability. I think I'd probably have a small saver on Tritonic, but I'm definitely going to bet place and win Soldier on Parade. Certainly if there's the 3 places on offer. I was quite taken with his performance at Lingfield. He really gutsed it out. He was a fair price that day. He drifted quite badly, so I wonder whether he was quite tuned up or whether that was very, very literally just a tune up for this race 8 days later, which seems more the case. I can't believe he's sort of 26.0 or bigger, to be honest. I know he's got bits and pieces to find on ratings, but he's got loads of experience, goes right-handed really well, loves decent ground, is fit, is well, comes from a stable in really good nick at the moment. It's just a price thing, really. For me, he shouldn't be 25-1. I think that's a bit of an insult to the horse. So I'd probably go 20% win, 80% place, something like that, and just try and take my chance and leave the head of the market alone.
So you wouldn't you got a lot of respect for Tritonic, but at the current price, you wouldn't back him at this.
Yeah,
at this
just even money. You know, I wonder whether it might be a tactical race again, whether that would suit him ideally. I love the horse to bits. I think he's a terrific animal, but just round Kempton as well on good ground. I don't know whether I'd rather see him with a bit of dig in the ground. Do you know what I mean? On a stiffer track. So just at 2.2, I'm happy to let him win. If he's good enough to do that, then great. But I'd rather be looking to back Soldier on Parade at 25-1 with the place terms.
Yeah, I'm setting this out as the prices are as they are currently. I thought that was about the right price for him. I was hoping Nicky Henderson's horse was going to be declared, but that hasn't been the case. And I was hoping Honor d'Anjouac was going to be a sort of more backable place price, but I think he's probably about right as well. So I'm sitting out. Dees, I'm not sure you've got anything on side as things stand.
No, not really. Like Casalupi was the only one to place. If he was a bigger price to place than Tritonic was to win, I might be interested in it. Like there was a massive market move for him in that Ascot race. Like Gary Morales had a horse for that Ascot race. I think Casalupi was back from double figures into 7.0 or 6.0 before the off. And again, he was just picked up by Tritonic, but Tritonic absolutely flew past him. So I can't see how he would turn the form around. But this would be a no-bet race for me. I'm happy enough to watch it.
Sam, can I just come back to you? I wanted to ask you about the track, why this will suit Casalupi more than Ascot.
Just because I felt it's possibly an easier track to try and make all on and race aggressively on, especially on good ground as well. And if they're going to ride Tritonic the same and sort of sit chilly on him, I think sometimes you've got to be quite a useful horse against horses that have got good experience. To then go and pick them up. Look, he's a classy flat horse. So what was he rated? Late 90s, something like that. So this test should suit him ideally. But I don't know. There was just something about him at around even money that just put me off a little bit. I think they should be closer together anyway. I know one's a 65 rated flat horse and the other one's a 99. So everybody just presumes that Casalupi will get hammered again in this race. But I don't necessarily see that being the case.
And Soldier on Parade, who both Adele and Sam have given a warm mention to, can be back to 26.0. And just with the exchange, as it fleshes out, you never know as well on the day. You might get a decent win bet, for all both are suggesting a slightly bigger stake on the place bet for Soldier on Parade. Let's kick on to the 240 at Lingfield. This is the Winter Derby, over 10 furlongs. My best bet of the day runs in this, and nobody else has gone with it, so that worries me. But I'll just kick off with Felix. Holly Doyle and Marco Botti teaming up. Holly's back on board off the back of that Wolves win a couple of starts ago, where he beat Bangkok, form that's worked out really, really well. This son of Lope de Vega, who is an excellent sire when it comes to soft ground, we know that, but also the polytrack's got a really good strike rate on the polytrack. And then this horse was second in the trial to Bangkok when he really didn't have the race run to suit. I like Holly Doyle back on board. This race is one that Marco Botti's often targeted with good horses, the likes of Grandisar in the past and others. And I can see why Father of Jazz is favourite. Absolutely. I'd just rather go with what we know at this sort of level in the trial, and that I think that's good form, the Bangkok race. And I thought he was just a little bit too big at 4.0. So at that sort of price, I think he'd go shorter than that. And I made him a pretty strong shout for me. Guess who agree? Go on. In fact, no. Let's just go Deasy first before we get Sam and Adele's shout. Go on, Deasy.
I'm going for Forest of Dean, John Goslin's horse. Like his form has tied him with Felix there in Bangkok, as you said. He's finished third in his last 2 runs, but he was out for well over a year. So I think possibly the last 2 runs would have been getting him sharp fit. John Gosling targets this year every race. Forest of Dean is a high class horse. He's very good in the flat as well. I think that he will have been laid out for this. The last 2 runs will probably get them ready for it, and I will be expecting a big run at about 5.0.
Yeah, 5.0 you can get. I mentioned Felix's price at the top of the betting. You've got 3.0 for Father of Jazz, and that's probably fair enough. Johnny Drama is 7.0, and Power of States is 17.0. Felix, he is going to want a decent clip here compared to what he got in the Winter Derby. I know it's not the biggest field, but in the trial, sorry, I think they'll get a little bit quicker than they did in that.
So what's going to make the running? Sorry to interrupt. What's going to make the running?
I think they'll go with Forest of Dean from 1. I think he will want to go forward. Father of Jazz is he won't be far off from 3. I'd want to see him settle again as well. For all this is a better race, and I'm making the argument that I think they'll go quick enough for the horse I fancy, so that should be all right. And I'm hoping that Power of States won't be too far away either. We know what Felix is going to do, and I'm just not sure Johnny Drama's got the toe to be up there anyway. So I think it'll be a case of 3 vying for it up top, although they won't go silly. And then the one I like, and Andrew Balding's other horse, Johnny Drama, just sitting out the back. Go on, Sam. How do you think it'll be running? Who do you fancy?
Yeah, a little bit like you. I think Forest of Dean. I think it's his best chance of trying to exploit, a tactical race. Best chance of winning the race. I think Johnny Drama. I think if he was at Kempton and this was a 1.5 miles, I'd be very keen on him. Big, long striding, imposing individual. I like Father of Jazz. I must admit, I like his sharp turn of foot. I was all over Felix for this race last year, anti-post, and then they very strangely ran him at Wolverhampton over 9.5, just thinking that it must have been a really good opportunity for him. And he ran abysmally and then ended up missing this race, unfortunately. But he's shown, with his subsequent efforts this year, both in the hands of Ryan Moore, Holly Doyle and Richie Kingscote, what a force he is, as you say, on a synthetic surface. Really, really classy horse. I just like Father of Jazz's sharp turn of foot. His sectionals have been very good this year. I know he's got a bit to find with Felix. He's got £6 on official ratings if you're that way inclined. But I think providing he just stays settled down at the start, and this is where, I think the exchanges are very good. You wait until you see him get loaded up. He got a little bit restless in the stalls last time. So just, wait, hold your horses. You're not going to miss a great price, I don't think, because he's been 11-2 this week. So he's now 2.7, 2.8. So you're not going to miss any great value if you fancy him. And just wait just to see how he takes the prelims and the loading process, and then play accordingly. But I like him. I think he's improving hand over fist. I was very impressed with him last time. I thought he showed a right sharp turn of foot to go and win that race, and was very well back to do so, of course.
And yeah, in that handicap, it looks a pretty good thing now. And I know, Adele, you think the same. What do you want to add to what Sam said with Father of Jazz?
Oh, you can't not be impressed with him. I mean, he's obviously took a bit of time to mature, and they've been well rewarded for their patience. He can be a little bit gassy, but the one thing with Callan Shepherd is if there's going to be no pace on, I see him loads of times on the all-weather. He'll just make a manoeuvre and he might go, might kick for home a little bit sooner. The good thing with Father Jazz, he has got a rapid turn of foot. Felix, he can hit a little bit of a flat spot when they're first quicken. The thing is, when you ride someone like Felix, because he's ridden off the pace, you're constantly then having to chase. The front runners are going to go and try and get first run on you. But I think Father Jazz is going to be ridden on the heels, and if they're not going very quick, Callum, it won't surprise me if he didn't go on him. I think, given the fact that he is so lightly raced and he could be absolutely anything, we don't know yet. But from what we've seen so far, he looks really smart.
Father of Jazz then, who, as Sam said, heads the betting, and Felix is a couple of points bigger in there than Forrester Dean at 4.5 and Johnny Drummer's 7.0, Power of States 17.0. We've been through everyone there, haven't we? We have. We're all happy. Nothing to add to the Winter Derby.
All done.
We are done. Let's move on to the Dovecote over 2 miles, the 3 o'clock at Kempton. Let me give you the prices first of all. Paul Nicholls is Athol Street, who's 2 from 2 over hurdles. Harry Cobden rides is 3.0. Calico, second start for Dan Skelton. Talking of a good horse off the flats, there's a good horse in Germany. Is 4.0, 6.0 for Cape Gentleman. Lunar Sovereign is 12.0, 13.0. Mackenbow then 17, Son of Red, and Pyramid Place is a big old price at the moment. Go on, Dees, kick us off with this contest. Where are you looking and why?
Very easy. Cape Gentleman, Emmett Mullen's horse. John O'Neill has been chopped up there now. He's the Irish Cesarewitch winner. He was very impressive at Punchestown, beating Petty Bonhomme on debut in a maiden hurdle. Petty Bonhomme he's finished second again during the week, but it was decent form. He was entered in that first race there at the Dublin Racing Festival, the one that Goyard de Menil won. I kind of half fancied him for that, but he was a massive drifter on the day and ran terrible. So he is over here now. There has been a bit of money for him since declarations. Emmett Mullins is a brilliant trainer. I think John he's a great jockey on board. I think he's another Irish horse going over here to pick up a nice, easy race in England. And
Sam, I don't know if you missed when Deasy put up 2 Irish horses at massive prices and they both caught. Who did you have again, Dees?
The John McConnell horse. What was his name? So Good or something. He won that.
He won the novice hurdle.
One was.
Yeah, it was that memorable. It was great.
Chatham Street Lad.
Chatham Street Lad.
Oh, yeah, there you are.
Also, Dees definitely goes more Irish when he puts up an Irish trained horse, doesn't he?
That's obligatory, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's a class horse, and like it's harder to win races in Ireland than it is in England, so he's dead right going over.
He's 6.0 is Cape Gentleman with John O'Neill Jr. booked. Sam and Adele, whilst looking elsewhere as well as Athol Street, I know you both want to have him on side. Adele, kick us off. 3.0 for Athol Street.
Yeah, I couldn't really decide between him and Calico. I was impressed with both of them. But Athol Street more because it was the rapid improvement, I think, from his first to his second. I don't think Harry really wanted to make the run-in last time out, but he was obviously a little bit keen and wanted to get on with things. And I think he was just quite happy to just let him go. And he loved it. He enjoyed himself. And he looked fantastic. And he absolutely run them ragged. So I thought that was a massive improvement. And he improved in every way. His jumping, he travelled well. So he was the one that I had first on side. And I do quite like Calico, who won obviously on heavy ground at Ludlow on his first start, but it is better ground on Saturday. But he was, I think he was not beaten far, was he, in the German St. Ledger on good ground? So he obviously can handle a better surface. And I was quite impressed with him as well. So I couldn't decide between the two, but I think I'll stick with Athol Street. I'm hoping there's still a little bit more improvement there to come with him.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't really have been more impressive, I didn't think, last time. Probably was a warm order at the top of the betting. Sam, what do you want to add to Athol Street?
Yeah, I think Adele's absolutely nailed it. The graph of his improvement moved remarkably upwards from just November to December. That one race, his first over hurdles, when he was sent off a 6-1 chance and largely unconsidered in the market, brought him on so much mentally and physically that I thought he was a really tremendous winner. I sound like Donald Trump there. He was a terrific winner before Christmas, winning by 16 lengths. Now, the race hasn't worked out particularly well. There's been a few come out of it and not many have enhanced the form. But I just love the way that he was so nimble and efficient at his hurdles. Obviously, going right-handed on decent ground shouldn't be a problem for him either. I think unlike a lot of horses in these colours for this stable and for other stables, he looks as though he doesn't lack in pace. He looks as though he's got a little bit of toe. I know he's got a Supreme entry at the festival. I'd be surprised if he takes that up and perhaps doesn't head to Aintree instead. But he's certainly my number one pick here. And if I had to pick something at a bigger price, just for a small shilling each way, win and place, I'd probably go Son of Red, who is a 4-year-old in this. And I think Alan King won this with a 4-year-old back in the day, didn't he? One called Grametti.
In the Adonis as well, and he's going here instead. So
yeah, I think he's been waiting for the good ground as well. I think he won at Newcastle on decent ground, at the end of November, and hasn't been overfaced since. And as I say, Grametti won this for the stable. I'm not saying he's Grametti, but at 16 or 17.0, he could be worth just a shilling each way in this race.
That was very much my angle. I just because pre-Dex they had him and Tritonic in both races, so they're obviously not going to run both against each other. And I wonder that the view might be that, well, he's going to run his best in the Juvenile, and then this horse can, try and pick up whatever he can in here. And he's probably not considered as good as Tritonic. But actually, as you say, I then look back, and Alan King's won this a couple of times with Winter Escape and Grametti, the 4-year-old. And I just thought that was an interesting angle in to say, well, look, maybe he's not just running because he doesn't want to oppose Tritonic. At 17.0, I think he's probably pretty good. And going back on better ground could be a big plus. That Adagio form from last time is good, and it was soft ground at Cheltenham, and maybe going back on flat ratings, he's probably got a bit to find. But I thought he was just a bit overpriced. But like you, Sam, it wouldn't be a really confident shout. It'd just be, a small stake win and maybe a slightly bigger one place. Anything to add to this, ladies and gents? Let's move on. Good stuff to the Eider Chase. 3:15 at Newcastle, and heading the betting, Sam's Adventure is 5.0. Cross Park is 6.0. Big River, who I thought would win the Welsh National last time, wasn't to be, 8.0. Salty Boy 9.0. The Dutchman's the same price. Cyclop 11.0. Springfield Fox 12.0. And then we're really going up a point or two going through the rest of them. Dees, take it away.
This is you stopped when you mentioned this horse. Crossley Tender, what price is he?
Crossley Tender is a 17.0 shot, but as big as that, which I think is fair enough given his price bookmaker wise in most parts. So 17.0 Crossley Tender.
And he made up, if you watched his last race at Ascot, he made up huge ground to take forward, and he was only staying on. His record over 3 miles is a lot better than his record at 3 miles or even below it. I think this is the perfect test from 4 miles and a quarter. I think he'll stay all day. Tom O'Brien has gone up there just for this ride. He only has one ride on Saturday. He's gone up to Newcastle for it. I think he's a brilliant jockey. 17.0, I'd be having a good win and place bet on him. And I would, if Big River was a bigger price, I'd be interested in him as well, because he's usually running a cracker on the Ultimate this time of year, but I don't think he's going to take up. He's entering the Kim Muir this year. I couldn't see him taking that up after running at Newcastle over 4 miles. But he's a nice horse as well, but I wouldn't that 8.0. Crossley Tender would be the main one for me.
Crossley Tender, the main one for you, for Tom O'Brien and Paul Henderson. Sam, shorter price than that for you?
Yeah, just to reiterate what Dee says about Crossley Tender, I think he'll pop away and travel for fun in this race. I backed him at Ascot, and I thought he was going to get involved at one point, and I think he just made a really bad error, did he, in the straight or just before they got to the straight, and that just stopped him in his tracks, but he was just creeping onto the heels of the leaders, so I think he might well have been dangerous that day. I'm going to go for the old favourite. The last renewal of this race in 2019 was won by Cross Park, and it was pretty much the last race that he won, and he's been just carried out in his shield a number of times, this horse, most notably at Sandown. Unfortunately, he would have gone close to winning the Veterans Chase last time, but he just pitched at the second last and walked through the last and got beat a length by Seaward Midnight. But I still thought it was a really creditable effort. And his record in excess of 4 miles is very good. He's only raced twice. He's finished second in a Scottish National, and he's won this race. So I think Sean Bowen teaming back up with Caroline Bailey as well. They've got a good association. Ground should be okay, I would think. He goes on any ground. This horse stays very well. I know he's got tons of weight. There used to be some quite big weight stats doing the rounds for this race back in the day. I can't remember what they were, but it used to be well suited by a lightweight, I think. But I think he's a classy animal. He was obviously acts well at the track, and I think sort of 6.0, bit bigger perhaps each way, win and place. I think that's very fair.
And he wouldn't have beaten Royal Pagaille last time, Sam. So maybe it's no bad thing that he didn't try and go with him and he unseated and didn't have too hard a contest, if you know what I mean. I know I'm scratching here, but
is that Sam's Adventure or Cross Park?
Oh, are you Cross Park?
I'm Cross Park.
Oh, I've written down Sam's Adventure. There you go. It's Adele who's Sam's Adventure. It's Adele who's Sam's Adventure. Go on, Cross Park for Sean Bowen and Caroline Bailey. So Cross Park to get over his second itis at 6.0. And then Adele, you are Sam's Adventure.
I am Sam's Adventure. Well,
Adele, it's a good job, Adele. He didn't have a hard race last time because he wouldn't have beaten Royal Pagaille.
Well, do you know, honestly, I have two written down. It's Cross Park and Sam's Adventure. One thing you need in this race is an out-and-out stayer. They've obviously moved the start of this race because they've added in an extra fence, because before you used to like jump straight into a bend. So they've brought it back, I think, is it 154 yards or something. So then it made me look at Cross Park because he's the only course and distance winner in there. He stays every single yard of it. But is it a bit of a tough ask off a top weight? Brian Ellison absolutely loves Sam's Adventure, and he loves having winners at Newcastle because obviously it's his hometown. The one race, he really wants to win is the Northumberland Plate because he was born on that day. That's the race he really wants to win. But he loves having winners at Newcastle, and he wasn't stopping when he unseated in the Peter Marsh. So Brian seems to think he'll stay all day long. It's not a race I would be having a massive bet in myself. I'd only be having a small bet on Sam's Adventure, and Henry Brook is obviously back from an injury and he's doing really well. He's ridden a few winners now, so he'll be trying to get a nice big winner on board as well, try and kind of pick up the pieces from the season that he's lost. So Sam's Adventure, Cross Park was on my short list as well, but I just think it might be a tough task given his weight.
That is tremendous local knowledge about birthdays on the same day as the Northumberland Plate. That is superb.
He really wants to win that race.
He's going to get loads of messages now on Northumberland Plate Day. I'm going to go with Salty Boy for Brendan Powell and David Bridgewater. It'd be an emotional one, given the poor old condition of what happened to him at the weekend. But thought he ran a good race at Haydock behind Sam's Adventure, where he just looked like he wanted further. He'll probably shape as though he wants further here, but I just wonder, because he did again half at Plumpton last time. Just think he might want better ground because his best form in Ireland came on a sound surface. And that could be the angle for him. So I think he's worth chancing over a marathon distance on slightly better ground. And he's now rated 124. And, if you look at his run behind Severano in a novice handicap on his first start for the yard, where he was 130, I think he could be fairly treated for a clever old trainer. So 9.0, I thought for Salty Boy was fair enough. And then into another big price handicap, last one of the day, Close Brothers Handicap Chase. Had so many different names this in the past. Now the Close Brothers Handicap Chase over 3 miles, a 3:35 at Kempton. And we've got a different selection between us here, so we don't agree on anything. So let's just go to Adele first of all. Who are you siding with in this one and why?
I've gone for ASO. I've been through this race so many times and I've changed my mind so many times. Dare we even go against Bryony Frost when she rides them? The horses actually gets on so well with her. I think he's gone and done some hedge hopping and stuff, Black Cotton, because obviously unseated was it Mascot, and then he was them. So obviously just looking like he was maybe idling a little bit and thinking about things. So they took him away and just had a little bit of a play about with him. But I just thought ASO, the way he ran against two for goal at Warwick, I thought he wasn't beaten far at all. I think a repeat of that performance, because I think he had a 6. I think Two for Gold had a £6 pull on him that day. So I think just a repeat of that race at the price he's at, which I think will be double figures. I'm just going to have a place bet on him.
He is, rather than running you through every price, because there's a fair few runners here, he's 21.0. We've got a field of 18 lining up. He's a horse that's gone up a few times on this pod, including last time where he was second at 13.0 to Two for Gold by a neck. ASO for you, Adele. Sam, what about you?
I'm going to go with Southfield Stone. Hopefully there's some improvement to come now. He stretches out to 3 miles. He won a 2 mile bumper when we last saw him, a jumper's bumper. And he sort of races as though 3 miles might find a little bit of improvement. Just a very, very good right-handed, decent ground, chaser. You wouldn't think he'd be so good right-handed because he does edge left at some of his fences, unfortunately. But I like the pace angle. I would imagine he's going to be ridden fairly handy here, even though he's stretching out in trip. Black Corton, Mr. Malarkey, Mellow Ben, perhaps the other front runners in the race. But I just like his good ground stats. I mean, I think he's raced 6 times on good ground and won 4 of them, been second on 2 other occasions, finished first, second and first at Kempton. Just a lot of sort of stats back up that we should get a good run for our money out of Southfield Stone. He's come out of that Kempton race really well, apparently. And don't forget, he beat Cool Cody last autumn at Cheltenham, sort of half pulling himself up in the autumn there on decent ground. And he went out and won the Paddy Pound by 3 lengths next time out. So there's some good positives to take from his form, and the fact that he's sort of been kept fresh and well for this is another positive as well. I think there's been 1 or 2 horses in recent times that have come out of these jumpers bumpers and won nice handicaps. There was one at Wetherby in the week that Dubai Days, I think, who'd had a little tune up in a jumpers bumper and come and slaughtered a field at Wetherby, and he's not been an isolated case. So I think that's quite a nice angle to take into this race.
And I'll add to that. I know this feels weird saying, but I thought it was a really good jumpers bumper that he won as well. Did they leave you out? Do you know what I mean? Like, there was flat speed in that race. Imphal, did they leave you out too? I say that because I was covering it. I was quite impressed with him, actually. I thought he did well.
It was one of the slowest run on the day, wasn't it? But, he was up there in the van, cutting out the running and putting the pace to the race and dictating. It was a cute ride from Harry, to be fair. But it's just the fact that, he's a good ground horse, and 1 or 2 of these, I just think they might just get taken out of their comfort zone a little bit. They've been sort of banging their head against a brick wall on soft ground all winter, and then they're just going to go half a stride quicker here.
I'm going to save Deasy till last because he's always has a big price silly one, and quite often they cop. So we're going to come to him last.
Not that silly then, are they?
No, they're not exactly. The big price clever one. Honestly, that's how he can afford to buy so many new polo shirts.
Sponsored by Ralph Lauren.
I am going to go with. I'm glad Steve Jones isn't on the pod because he'd be taking the mick at me for putting up the Butcher Said, trained by Ollie Murphy. And the key for this horse is that he's had a wind up. He apparently, when he got to the yard, it was his breathing. He was struggling to breathe at the end of his races. Gave him a wind up, and he won a few. Negatives are, can he do it in a big field? They normally ride him cold, although in a small field he has dominated before. But if you see the last couple of runs, they've ridden him very cold. He can tank into the race. Last time he emptied on soft ground, and I'm convinced that's because he couldn't breathe, and that's why they're giving him this wind up. Interesting, they've taken the hood off. If you look at the rehearsal chase, the race won by York Hill, he was tanking into it and then made a very bad mistake 5 out. Now, he may have emptied again, I don't know, but I think it's enough to suggest that at 17.0, now he's had the wind up and the usual tongue ties on, he's worth backing. He has to have good ground. I think that's as much due to his breathing as anything. And it's just the wind up angle, I think, is the time to catch him because I know he needs that. So the Butcher Said at 17.0, I'm chancing him now and shall not again if it doesn't come good. And now, the big price, the outsider of the field, Young Wolf for Deasy at any price you like. Go on, what's the case?
Of course you're going to take the Butcher Said again, Tom. That's complete bullshit. Every week there's an Alan Murphy horse. Every week.
Listen, I sent Ollie a message about this horse. He hasn't even written back, so there's no insider info there. It's brutal.
That's a good sign. So
brutal.
Yeah. Anyway, Young Wolf. Yeah. Young Wolf. As Sam mentioned earlier, there's a few horses now that have been kind of running over the winter and didn't enjoy the soft ground. I think Young Wolf is one of them. He's John Joe is on for his father, John Joe. I think good ground is the key to this horse. He's fine over 3 miles. His last good runs, he was second at Fakenham to the Wind of Wiltonshire, who was just on it that day. He got absolutely blown out of it. But before that, a few good wins. He's an absolutely massive price. John Joe is going well at the moment, and he's off a nice low weight. So I mean, at a massive price, I'll be having probably a quarter win and 3/4 place on him. And the other one I looked at as well with a big price was Finger on the Switch, Neil Mulholland's horse. Great record at Kempton. Millie Wanacott is absolutely class. I know Rixie's a massive fan of hers as well. But when she's on in these big races, like she always rides a brilliant race. Shawless goes close. He's like finger on the switch for the 11-year-old. Hasn't loads of racing done. Again, he's a nice big price. I could see him hitting the frame, especially if you're going to be getting 4 or 5 places. He'd be another one now that I'd have a very small win, but definitely a nice place bet.
It's 21.0 currently. Sorry, go on, Sam.
I was just going to say, breaking news, that they've had a winner as well this afternoon in Sedgefield, that team. So
there you go.
Further wood to the fire.
Well, I might increase the win stake, and that's all small bit.
That I think she's got 2 left now until she loses that 7 as well, and she seems to be well worth it. Which, Sam, was she yours or Rixie's shout as a rider to follow? I can't remember who she was for the season. She wasn't yours; she was Rixie's.
Might have been Rixie's, yeah, but I'm a big fan. Her percentages are absolutely astonishing, really. I know that especially in chasers, which is obviously a very difficult discipline to get right as a young jump jockey. I mean, you look at all the great chase jockeys that we've seen in the last 10 years. They're all, gnarled, grizzled old jockeys who ride with loads of patience. Your Davy Russells, Barry Geraghty's, those sort of people who just, literally sit quiet and very, very patient. And, she seems to have got her timing off to a T. She's an exceptional talent.
Adele, I actually have her stats here now, just why on about. It's no side to cut across you, Tom. In chases, she's 25%, 6 wins from 24 rides. If you had a tenner on them all, you'd be up 470 quid.
That's
£7. Why you can afford a polo shirt.
Exactly. That £7 Adele is worth a chunk, isn't it? When she's riding as well as she is, a huge difference when she goes down to 5. Just for anybody wondering, or not necessarily.
I don't think so. A 5's still a lot of weight allowance to take off a horse. I think with her, I think she must definitely do her homework. She doesn't seem to do much wrong. She knows what she's riding. She knows the opposition around her. She just always seems to be in a winnable position, and she seems to squeeze the most out of them. She's well worth a £7. I still think she'll be worth a 5 when she drops down to that.
That's it for the Millie Wonicott Appreciation Podcast. We're on a tangent then. But yeah, she's very good, and we'll see how she goes. Figure on the switch is 21.0. Right, that's it for the live racing. We can get stuck into best bets now. Weekend best bets can be from any of the 7 that we've previewed on Saturday afternoon or elsewhere. Micheál, Deasy, kick us off. Your best bet?
I'm going to go for Crossley Tender in the Eider. 17.0.
Crossley Tender 17.0 in the Eider. Adele, your best bet this weekend? Is it from one of those that you've put up already or elsewhere?
No, I'm gonna stick with what we've done, and I'm gonna go on the flat though. I'm gonna go Micheál in the sprint at Lingfield.
Micheál, top of the betting for you in the Hever sprint. And Sam, your best bet?
I'll go Southfield Stone in the Close Brothers Handicap Chase, 335, win and place.
That's the one we just looked at. And I'll confirm a price for you for Southfield Stone. I think we said 13.0. Yes, indeed. And that's good. We're going different races. So we're not taking each other on. So mine is Felix in the Winter Derby. I thought second in was a fair old price. Felix for me in the Winter Derby at Lingfield. That's it. We're done. And we're under 50 minutes as well. Must be because Steve Jones isn't waffling on the pod. That's it. That's the key.
Rixie, more like.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Sam, lovely to have you back. Thanks ever so much for joining us. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Adele, thank you. Lovely to see you again. And DC, you can gloat all you want if that big price one comes in.
I will.
You will. He will.
Yeah.
Up the Wolves.
I'll buy you all a red short for next week if that one comes in, all right?
And we haven't even talked about the cricket. It's probably finished. There you go. Thanks for listening to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast this weekend. Thanks to all of you that voted in the SBC Betting Awards. That is much appreciated. And as far as the Cheltenham podcast goes, we have a Cheltenham Antipost podcast that is coming your way next Wednesday, and that's just under 2 weeks for the start of the festival. It's going to be at 5 p.m. We've got a great team assembled for you for our Cheltenham Anti-Post podcast. We're going to have one every day at the festival as well, but that is us looking ahead to 4 fantastic days, and it's not too far away. Right, that's it for this week. Best of luck wherever you're playing. Bye-bye.